How many people here can boast that they had a 45-year playing career? No takers. Probably none, except our next inductee. She was introduced to lacrosse by her grade 8 phys ed teacher and began playing at the bantam level in her hometown of Richmond, BC. She would go on to play the game, both field and box genres, for some 4 decades. After playing minor lacrosse, she joined her former teacher on the Richmond Titans senior women's team and was part of a provincial championship squad in 1980 and a national championship teams in both 1980 and 81. It was in 1983, however, when women's field lacrosse in BC was in its infancy, that both her love affair with lacrosse and her career in the sport really took off. 1983 was the year of the first National Women's Lacrosse Championship, and she was a part of the first BC Selects team that journeyed to Montreal to compete in that event. They took home the title that year and began a run unprecedented in Canadian lacrosse, and she became a vital cog in the team's machinery. An attacker with a tremendous ability to drive to the net, she helped lead the team to 11 consecutive national titles and eventually a place in the Hall of Fame team category. In 1986, she was a member of Canada's national team, which competed at the Women's World Cup in Philadelphia, and in 1989 was again a part of Team Canada's attack at the Perth, Australia Games. After her involvement at the national and international levels ended, the lacrosse bug simply wouldn't go away. She continued to play in various leagues in both box and field lacrosse, men's masters leagues, women's leagues, and co-ed leagues, until COVID put a stop to her playing career. Tonight we recognize her longevity, but most importantly, her on-field excellency with induction into the Hall of Fame, Trish Nicholson.
Good evening, and thank you for attending this ceremony. A big thank you to the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame Board and Selection Committee, and to all the people working behind the scenes that made this evening possible. I'd like to thank my friends and teammates and coaches for being here tonight to help me celebrate this special honor. I would also like to congratulate my fellow inductees, which includes 2 women that I had the pleasure of competing against and working with years ago. A special thank you to Vicki Burkich for taking the time and effort to nominate me, and for making sure that women's lacrosse honors its history and is not just an asterisk at the bottom of a program. The very same Vicki Burkich is the reason that I am here tonight, beyond being my nominator. My whole lacrosse career started with a little lie told to my parents 45 years ago when I came home from a grade 8 PE class and asked if I could play lacrosse. My parents had denied my brother the opportunity to play, saying that it was too rough and unsavory a sport, and especially for a girl. I had to come up with an answer that would change their minds, so I said that my PE teacher, Miss Burkich, said that the rules are different for girls, and it was non-contact. Well, we all know that's pretty far from the truth. My mom replied, well, if Miss Burkich says it's okay for her to play, then I guess we should let her try, much to the dismay of my brother. And from that day forward, I fell in love with lacrosse in all its variations. My parents were not into sports at all, and I knew it was unlikely that they would ever come and see a game. But they always made sure that I had the appropriate equipment and all my fees and paperwork were in order, and they were there to get me to my games. After playing for 3 years, my parents finally came to a game, and my mom was astounded. She said the rules were different. People are smashing you with sticks and pushing you into the boards all the time. What's going on here? Are there actually rules? Are there penalties? I replied that I was in a senior division now, and the rules were different. But Miss Burkich, she's now my teammate, so everything's good. That was the first and last box lacrosse game that my parents attended. But I know deep down that they were proud of my success in the sport. They just had a really hard time watching me play it. I learned so much playing for Roger Ross and the Richmond Titans, winning 2 national championships. I was only 15 when I had to move up to the senior team, as there was no other team for me to play on. I had the best role models for learning how to train hard, focus, and be a champion. They also taught me how to drink beer, which maybe wasn't the best role modeling. After playing for the Titans, field lacrosse became the variation of the game that was going to be supported and promoted. So I switched over with much resentment and regret and started to play the big tennis racket stick, big net game with the BC Selects. Many of my teammates were former adversaries from the dreaded Kirby Copettes, coached by Hall of Famer Dave Evans, and I was playing with Hall of Famer Michelle Boyer. I was lucky enough to win 11 national championships with the BC Selects and go on to play at 2 World Cups with Team Canada. After I retired from the Selects, I found some playing opportunities with both men's and women's teams, and to this day I wish there was a master's division for women's box and field so that I didn't have to get my ankles broken by 20-year-olds. I'm so grateful that I played this game and met some of my best friends who taught me how to train, be a champion, and also how to coach. Great memories from the road trips across the US in crappy rental cars and staying in dodgy motels or the apartments of strangers, being the only team at US tournaments with the audacity to wear shorts instead of skirts, and whose coach would occasionally kick over buckets of balls while swearing at us. Thank you to my constant roommates Karen Blake, Caroline Carpet, and Marianne Longmore for being the funniest and most loyal of friends. And to Michelle Boyer and Dave Evans for all your work both on and off the field, and for believing that women's sports is worthy and equal. But in the end, life comes full circle. I wouldn't be standing here today accepting this honor if it wasn't for one outstanding teacher who took the time to encourage an awkward, shy PE8 student to play sports, then pushing her towards lacrosse. Sometimes the smallest act of thoughtfulness can produce something special for a kid that is years in the making. And for that, I owe you big time, Vicky Burkich. Thanks again to the Hall of Fame for this honor, and to all my fellow inductees.
Ladies and gentlemen, Trish Nicholson.
I'd have been a player. I would have been a player.
You can.
Yes, yes, we are, please. Was Dave the one who kicked the balls?
Yeah. Not even
Who's the person who kicked the balls?
you.